Hello, divas. Hello, divas. Let me see if I can see you all in the chat. Give me 1 second. If you can hear me, put a one. I have an echo. Okay. Can you put a one in the chat and let me know if you can hear me? Okay, I see a one in the chat. I see a one in the chat. Hello, book divas. Welcome to the Pink Table Book Club, where sisterhood meets storytelling. I am your host and good sis, Pink Diva. Thank you so much for joining me. I am beyond excited to have each of you here as we kick off this new chapter, literally and figuratively. This space was created for those of us who loves getting lost between the pages of a great book, for us to connect, be inspired through stories that reflect real life, real love, and real lessons. You know, at the Pink Table, we laugh, we learn, and sometimes we lean in a little deep because here we believe in reading between the lines. And that means we don't just talk about what's written on the page, we explore the messages behind the words, the truth about friendship, about faith, about womanhood, and everything in between. Today's book, Message from a Mistress by Niobe Bryant, is one that takes us right into the heart of secrets, sisterhood, and self discovery. And if we're being honest, it's one of those stories that make you pause, sip your tea or your wine, because I had wine, and say, woo, let's talk about this, right? So, whether this is your first book club experience or you're a seasoned reader, I want you to know that you belong here. Your thoughts matter, your voice matter, and this table, our pink table, is a judgment-free zone for open, honest, and empowering conversations. So, sit back, relax, and let's dive in, ladies. Let's turn the pages, let's share our perspectives, and uncover the lessons waiting for us in Message by a Mistress. Hello, and happy Saturday. It is our first official Pink Table Book Club meeting. How are y'all doing? How are y'all doing? And I don't know about y'all. This book was a juicy one. Did y'all enjoy the book? Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness, this was an amazing book. I reread the book as I was telling you all earlier on. I've read this book many years ago, but you know how sometimes you can read something a while ago and you go back and you find things that you actually missed. You actually found things that you missed, and that's exactly what it was for me. I found some things that I missed as well. So it felt good going back and reading the books. Let me go up and speak. My sis Teresa Wright is in the house. Hey Teresa, thanks for being here and modding for me. My sister from another Mr. Chit Chat with QT is in the house. Hey sis, thanks for joining. She says, hello divas, hit that like button on your way in. Welcome to Pink Table Topics Book Club meeting. Message from a Mistress. Yes, book one. Rosemary is here. Good morning. She says, good morning, Pink Diva, Book Club Divas. Good morning. Hey, Titi. My Titi is here. She said, hey, y'all, leaving the nail shop. I'm listening. Thank you, sis, for listening in. Lady Sweetness, my sis, is here. She says she's in the bushes listening. Something came up, sending love. Thank you, sis. Hope all is well. Thank you for being here. Teresa Wright says, ooh, child. Angela Richardson is here. Hey, sis. Thanks for joining. I appreciate you for being here. I'm doing well. How are you, sis? How are you? Teresa says she read the book years ago, too. I read it this time as a grown woman. Listen, let me tell you. It was some steamy. It was some steamy stuff in here. I don't know about y'all, baby, but this book had me wanting to climb a wall or two. So listen. Our book club discussions are going to go. I really want everybody that read the book. I want you to make sure that you are engaging in the conversations. I'm engaged down in the chat. I'm going to drop the link as well for those who want to come up and be able to share your perspectives. Click the link and come up and talk about the book and engage in the conversations. That's what it's all about. So I want you to also, feel free to come up and speak as well so that you can share your perspectives on the book. That's what a book club meeting is. It's more than just me talking. It's also about you coming up as well. So let me share my screen. This is our book, child. Message from a Mistress. Message from a Mistress. Hey, Gia. Gia's in the house. She says, "Hey, y'all. Peaceful is the new Bolo." No, his name is Pleasure. Pleasure, sis. And yes, ma'am. Yes, he is. He sure is. Pleasure. Listen. As we continue going through this series, baby, you're going to find out more and more about Pleasure. But yes, Teresa says, just ran my husband out of here. Why are you in this office today, boyfriend? Yeah, send him on out of there. Send him on out, sis. Send him on out of there. And before we get started, before we start deep diving into from a on a scale of 1 to 10, tell me how you felt about the book on a scale of 1 to 10. Yes, sis said, "Woo, child," in all caps. On a scale from on 1 to 10, on a scale of 1 to 10, how did you enjoy the book? Before we get into the discussion, how did you enjoy the book? 1 to 10. Teresa said he gonna mess around and hear something he don't want to hear. Girl, right? Ain't gonna be ready when you come out that office if he keep listening. And keep in mind, this is grown folk conversation. We listen and we do not judge. This is book club. This is not regular pink table topics. Okay, we're not tailoring our conversation. You may have to clench your pearls a couple times, because I did while I was reading the book, and that's okay. That's okay. Teresa says 10. Sis said 7-ish, and I'll tell why. Betty said I tried to read it and said, "Nah, I'm gonna go watch the movie," and forgot to watch the movie. Okay, but Betty, I will tell you, it is best for you to read the book before you watch the movie, so that you'll know the direction of the movie when you watch it. So I would suggest reading the book first and getting the storyline before going straight to the book. Therefore, you'll be able to follow along. I don't know if you all watched the BET series called The Family Business. That's actually a book, and there is a 6-book series, and we read every book in that series. And it's easier now watching the mini series on BET to follow it along, because you know who the characters are and you know the role that each character plays. So I would suggest reading the book first and then following along with the movie. Hey, Pat. Pat is in the house. Hey, sis. Rosemary says she gives it a 10. Okay. Sis says, I agree. It's always best to read the books first. Yes, definitely better to read the books first. Always better, because you can kind of understand the storyline better. So definitely make sure you read the book first. So now that we have basically rated our book, and I will say, and I'm going to give my judgment based off book 1. I will give book now the overall series. I give the overall series above 10, because that's how good it is. But if we're sticking to book 1, I will give it probably like maybe like a 9, because there were some instances in the book to where I felt like there should have been a bit more details. But I do understand where the author was going with how she was writing the storyline. And, the storyline did start to, come together in the end or toward the middle of the book. But there were some instances where I feel like she could have, excuse me, given us a little bit of more details, giving us a little bit more details. Teresa said that ending is what pissed you off. Listen, those endings when it's the next book in the series will always piss you off. And I get that the author does that because they want you to go right into the next book. And it keeps you eager. So that's why when it's typically a series, I don't really like to start a series when it's just one book and the author hasn't dropped the next book in the series yet, because it just keeps you hanging on until they actually get the next one ready. So the good thing about this series is all books are already available. So you could just go from one to the next, one to the next. Betty says, okay, I'll finish reading, and I got to chapter 4. Girl, chapter 4, you got a long way to go, and baby, it gets better. You hear me? Teresa says she's halfway through book 2. I'm going to start on book 2 after this one. I'll start on book 2 after this one. But yeah, it makes you want to, the way that it ends, it makes you want to go to the next book. Sis says, Betty, download Audible and you can just listen. Yes, Audible does go really, really fast for me. And I tend to put on Audible like when I'm working and I'm busy and I'm just listening in. But you know how sometimes when you're trying, especially when you're hosting and you're trying to get the questions together, I have to read it because I have to highlight stuff that I want to make sure that I cover in the discussion. But Audible is amazing. When you want to read and you're busy, just put it on. Even if you're at work and you're sitting at your desk, you can put on Audible and you can just listen to it while you're working, and it'll breeze right through, and before you know it, you've already finished the book. Sis said, I'm starting book 2 a week or two before the next meeting. Yeah, I like to try to read close to the actual date of the meeting so that it can be fresh, at least trying to finish. Just like this one, I just finished last night. Because I wanted it to be fresh for our meeting today. I wanted it to be fresh. So my next question was, okay, for those of you who remember the name of the friends, can you name the friends? Name the 4 girlfriends in the book. First person to name the 4 girlfriends. Let me get my pen so I can write it down. Because I told y'all we were going to have some raffle prizes and stuff. Gia says still running errands, so I'll be in the bushes. Okay, sis. Thanks for listening in. Who remembers the first? I had to write them down. Who remembered the 4 ladies? Who were the 4 girlfriends? Yep, sis is right. Sis said Jaime, Aria, Jessa, and Renee. And out of the 4 friends, who was your fave? Or did you have a fave? Out of the 4 friends, did you have a fave? Did you have a favorite? Oh, you were. I'm sorry, Teresa. Teresa said, no, I was before chit chat. Sis, I didn't even see your response. Teresa said, no, ma'am. I'm sorry, sis, I didn't see you. You were above hers. Teresa said, Jaime, Renee, Aria, and Jessa. Okay, sis, I got you. Thank you for bringing it to my attention because I definitely missed that. Wasn't on purpose, sis. Um, let's see. Teresa says she liked Aria. Gia says she liked Aria. Sis said no fave really, and that's why I give it a 7. And I think that, I don't like, I would say I don't think I had a fave, but if I had to choose out of the 4, it would be Renee. For me, if I had to choose out of the 4 in book 1, it would be Renee. I liked Aria as well because I feel like all 4 ladies brought something to the story. It was something interesting, and we'll get into the details a little later. But for me, it would have had to have been Renee because for me, she seemed to have been the more grounded one, I would say. The other ladies, Jaime, not so much for me. Jessa, no. Aria, I liked her sassiness, but there were things that I didn't like about her too, but I did like Renee. Renee was one of my favorite. Did you have a character in the book that you could relate to most? Was there, out of all of the girlfriends, with their demeanor, the way they behaved, reacted, their relationships, or the issues that they had, could you relate to any of those characters? Let me see. Could I relate to any of those characters? I would say, if I had to say I related to one, well, I don't think so though. I don't think I could really relate, although I saw their points of view. I don't really think I could relate. Rosemary said Jamie because she is the underdog and she might surprise us. You said Jasmine, but do you mean Jamie, the one that was having a little rendezvous with Pleasure? Teresa say I don't relate to any of them today. Right, Teresa. Keyword today. Today. Don't relate to any of them today. Um, Sis said no, she didn't relate to any of them. Didn't relate to any of them. So anyway, let's get into do you think, and the next question before we get into, Rosemary said yes, Jamie. Okay, sis, thanks. We figured that's who you were talking about. Before we get into the nitty-gritty of the discussion, do you think the author did a good job balancing the friendship and the betrayal throughout this book? Do you think it was a good balance of the friendships versus the betrayal that took place in the book? And if you went to book two, don't just try to keep it into book one. Because sometimes if you move forward with reading, it'll kind of have you going into the next book, because the storylines do run into each other. Do you think the author did a good job balancing the friendship and the betrayal throughout the book? Or do you all even think that they were real friends for real, just given that we know the story, we know their stories, we know each of their like lives that they shared and all of that? Do you think these ladies were really good friends? Do you think they were really good friends? Thanks, Teresa. Teresa said, please hit the like button. Let me take this off the screen for a quick second. Do you think they were good friends? Because as we saw, as we got into the story, we saw that the women's friendship was tested in major ways. We saw their friendship was tested in major ways. And um Teresa says, Rosemary says, I think they were friends. However, there was friendship within friends. Definitely true. Definitely true. Because, and that's typical. That's just like us in our everyday lives with our friendships. Some of us tend to cling more to others because we can relate more to one versus the other. I mean, we're still friends, but sometimes you share deeper relationships with others versus some versus others. Teresa said, obviously, Jessa wasn't really friends with any of them, girl, at all. Sis says, didn't balance too good to me, not good friends, but just neighbors that are friends, if that makes sense. That make perfect sense. I think to me, they became friends. I think it was more so the husbands, that they were only friends because of their husbands, if that makes sense. Because of the fellas, the guys. The guys were close to Jessa's husband, and when he passed away, and I think because of their relationship with Jessa's husband, that brought when the guys want to have something, they bring the wives, and then the wives become friends. So I think that's kind of where their circle grew from, based off of the guys' relationships. And then, of course, when um, Jessa lost her husband, that's when all of the groups started to kind of like rally behind her and be of support to her. So Teresa says, yes, chat, I don't think the neighbors are real true friends, just close associates. Good anatomy, Teresa. Just close associates. I totally agree. Betty says, from the chapters I've read, my mind was saying these are associates, not friends. Totally agree. I think they were more so associates and not friends. Because I don't, especially with some of the stuff that was coming up, you can kind of see that, okay, these can't be real friends because real friend. But I think though, when it comes to the four ladies, they all tend to have something in common. They had all shared, if you remember, they had all shared secrets with Jessa that they hadn't even shared with each other. Did y'all catch that? Jessa tended to me seem to have been the one that they all were sharing like their deepest secrets with, because Jessa is the one that knew that Jaime had the secret bank account. Jessa is the one that knew that Renee almost slept with her assistant. Jessa was the one that knew Aria's secrets of not being able to conceive a child and all of the dirt that she had done before she and Kingston were married. So Jessa seemed to have been the one that was holding all of the secrets, which is why she was able on Mad Day to be able to air all of their stuff. So I caught that in the book. Did you all catch that? Teresa say, well, they all were insecure. They were all very insecure. And the thing about it is, this message that, well, we'll get into that. We'll get into that. But yeah, they were all insecure. Teresa says, and that's why Jessa was able to send a message that made them all think she was talking about their man. Absolutely, because they all were dealing with something. Chit Chat said, even that part, how would Jessa have known that Jaime had that secret bank account based off of her leaving the bank slip in the purse? Very true. Jaime let her borrow the purse and the bank slip was in there. So obviously I'm assuming, and when I was reading that part too, sis, I was like, well, okay, well, maybe Jaime saw the bank slip in there. Maybe she asked um Jaime, but in that part, I figured, I felt like that the author could have done a little bit better at explaining how Jaime was, Jessa was actually able to identify that it was actually a secret bank account just because she saw a bank slip. So that was good. And when I was reading certain parts in this book, sis, I was thinking about you because I know that you are a super analytical person, and I knew you were going to catch some of this stuff, and I would just cackle to myself because I'm like, I know sis gonna catch this. I know she she gonna catch these pieces. Sis said Arthur should have delved deeper into the stories. Absolutely, she should have delved a little deeper into the stories. Right, sis. I said I know sis gonna catch that because of the way she be talking about them Tyler Perry shows. I knew she was gonna catch it. I knew she was gonna catch it. But that's the good thing in reading, though. You want to, and that's why, and after the book club meeting, if you all please go to Amazon and leave a review, because the authors really, really do appreciate the reviews of those that have read their books. And your feedback helps them to enhance their writing skills going forward. So they really do appreciate your feedback, and being honest and leaving your honest review so that people can see the reviews, the author can see your reviews. So definitely make sure you do that. Hi, the elegant elephant. Thanks for joining, sis. She said, my first time on your live. Thank you, sis. I appreciate you for being here. Today is book club day. This is our book club, first official book club meeting, sis. We read the book Message from a Mistress by Niobe Bryant, and we are discussing the book today. So every third Saturday of the month, we will be reading and discussing books. So if you are an avid reader like we are, and you like to read some good books, make sure you tune in and you read the books. I'll be putting next month's book read on the screen after this discussion. But thank you so much for joining. I appreciate you for being here. I appreciate you for being over here in our safe space where we laugh, we have fun, but we're talking about some books, some good books, some good books. Some good books. So let's dive into reading between the lines of these books, y'all. First question. What were your first impression of the four friends? We're talking Aria, we're talking Jaime, Jessa, and Renee. Before we knew anything about their story, What were your first impressions when they first introduced themselves within the first couple chapters of the book? We know Jamie's story was first, but what were your first impressions of the first friend of the four friends when you first started reading the book? What were your first impressions? Your first impression, because they all had their own individual stories. We know Jamie was the one that basically was living for her parents. She cared about what everybody thought. She was the snotty one, as they were called, the bougie friend that thought her ish didn't stink. And behind the scenes, she had a whole bunch of secrets that just behind the walls. She was going through a lot of stuff, but when she showed up, she was one of the ones, just like a lot of us know, a lot of people like that. They show up and put on this facade as if their life is perfect and they could do no wrong. Then we had the Renee. She was the one that married the husband that, her husband Jackson wanted her to be a stay-at-home mom. She was career driven. I'm sure at some point, based off the topics of conversation, she must have had a conversation with him early on in their marriage to where she would be okay with being a stay-at-home mom. And then somewhere down the line, she found herself wanting a career after she was being a part of like philanthropy throughout the community. And she started to want to really be a part of one of the nonprofits that she was working for. And she was driven to want to actually work, and her husband did not like her working. He wanted her to be a Stepford wife, in other words, stay at home and take care of the home, the kids, and your husband. Then we had Aria. Aria had a past to where, she was out here robbing and tricking off, and all of that kind of stuff. Came from the ghetto, went to college off of a college scholarship, and then she ended up meeting her husband, Kingston. And then she saw a different side of the tracks, per se. Then we had Jessa. Jessa and Aria, to me, they were friends first with each other. And it seemed like from since their, younger college days, they had like a competitive relationship. Their friendship was based off competing with each other and trying to one up each other. So after I started just reading and deep diving into the different conversations, I don't even think they were really friends. It was almost like they stayed connected with each other to see what the next one was doing so that they could one up that person with what they had going on. And one thing, and back to what Sis was saying in regards to how we felt like the author could have dove a little bit deeper into the storyline. I really wish she would have given us a little bit more background on Jessa and her husband's relationship. It's almost like when we were introduced to her, it was immediate to where, oh, he had passed away. I wish we could have gotten more details on her relationship, and it could be coming in other books, but just in this book, I really wish she would have given us a little bit more in-depth background on Jessa and her husband's relationship, like she did the other wives, instead of just immediately she just was the off the bat the single friend, and she was the only one coming around without having a being married or whatever the case may be. Tell us a little bit more about what really happened in your relationship while you were married. I think that would have flowed her storyline a little bit more better, coming from being married to now this newfound single person that's hanging around all of her old friends, his old friends, and their married couples, and she's the only single one. Rosemary says, they didn't trust Jessa's. I didn't trust it either. See, girl, talk about friends. With friends like Jessa, who needs enemies, right? Teresa said, I thought Aria was the young, spicy housewife who wanted to do something with her career. Aria was the journalist. Remember, she's the one that went to journalism school, and she was writing for the magazines. Renee was the one who, through philanthropy, she found a love for being a part of what that organization offered, and she became a top executive in that. And you remember she had the what was he called, her assistant, the assistant she had. So yeah, Aria was the one that was the journalist. Rosemary said Jessa was mentioned early. They didn't trust Jessa. No, they didn't trust her at all. Gia says Jessa's story was not complete. I totally agree. It was not complete. Chit Chat says, yes, that's why I gave it a 7. More details were needed for them to really, for them all, really, especially Jessa. Yeah, they did not give Jessa, would give us enough to go on with Jessa's story. It's almost like they planted her there, told us that she had lost her husband, and that's it. They didn't give us any more background outside of discussing, when they were going back in history with her and Aria's relationship, telling how they just one upped each other, but not really a lot of details on her life. So we really don't know her, because the rest of them, the majority of the rest of them, we were introduced to their parents, their family members. They was telling stories about their parents and family members, especially with Eric and Jaime. We were introduced early on about, how their parents were and all of that kind of stuff. So we needed to know more about Jessa. So hopefully in book 2, we find out more about Jessa. Sis says, I wrote that down for when I clicked the link, sis. That would have explained more and why and how she got trifling. Exactly, exactly. Teresa said they didn't give us enough in book 1. They didn't. And I'm sure she did that to keep us coming, to keep us coming back for the next one. Keep us coming back. And I'm going to go ahead, sis. I'm going to drop the link for anybody that want to come up. This is an open discussion. This is a book club discussion, open discussion. Please click the link and come so that we can have the discussion. You don't have to stay in the chat. But if you stay in the chat, continue to engage. But you are more than welcome to come up on the panel so that we can have this discussion. This is what it's all about. We read, we discuss. We read, we discuss. My next question: which friendship dynamic felt most authentic, and which one felt most toxic? Do you feel like Aria and Jessa felt more authentic, or did you feel that Aria and Jessa felt most toxic? Did you feel Renee, or did you feel Renee and Jaime? Because you remember some within the book, along the lines, there was a time where Jaime wanted to explain her situation that was going on within her household. She said that if she did tell anybody, it would be Renee, because she was the one that was less judgmental. Sis says, click the link. We need interactive discussions. Yes, interactive discussions. Because listen, I was telling y'all, I am going to be giving prizes away. I'm going to be giving away prizes for participation. We're going to be having some raffles, and a lot of different stuff is going to be, interactive. It's going to be more than us just, dropping down in the chat and listening in. So please, please, come. Feel free to come up. Hey, my sis.
Hey sis.
How are you? Let me
Good.
open up
You hear me
this.
okay?
I can hear you.
Okay, let me turn this down a little bit on my end. All right, y'all. I'm ready.
You're red. What did sis say? Sis says Aria and Jessa's friendship could have felt more authentic had the author gave a little more history of the friendship. I totally agree. I totally agree. And thank you for joining me on the panel, sis. And if anybody else want to come, the link is in the chat. Feel free to come up and talk. We listen. We don't judge. We deep diving into this book. Overall, you stated, sis, that you gave the book a 7. Explain to us why you're 7.
Absolutely. A couple things, and you touched on a couple, but I write notes, child, when folks are lying.
Mm-hmm.
I really felt like, well, let's start with the last one, Ari and Jessa's friendship. As I put in the chat, I do feel like it could have given us a little bit more, when it comes to the background of the friendship. We know that she said that her and Jess were always competitive and all of that. I just wanted more upfront, and not only with them, but how you mentioned Jessa's husband. How did she get there? Was
Mm-hmm.
it complete jealousy that, hey, I lost my husband and I just don't give a dime about all of these other women and their marriages? I felt like the author could have, look, let me say up front that I did enjoy it, and I'm stuck now. But I felt like the author should have given us a little more detail in not only Jess and her husband's marriage, but all of them. It felt a little disjointed at times to me. And I get her, in a sense. I get her coming out and leading with Jessa's text to the ladies because naturally that's going to keep people intrigued to continue reading. But I felt like I wanted to know more of all of the ladies' interactions with
Mm-hmm.
Jessica first, but she probably would have lost a lot of people. That could have came. It was strung
Mm-hmm.
along a tad bit much. So I think that could have come in the middle. You know what I mean? And more history up. Tell us some good times where all the ladies went out in the beginning and had fun, or something that caused mistrust, or that's why I gave it a 7. It should have just been more details. You know what I mean? What else did I write down? I would have
Mm-hmm.
liked to have known more about the guys' friendship, the interactions with them. Since one of the husbands obviously got with Jessa, had we got a little more background in the male dynamic of them as a whole, maybe all of them going out with Jessa's husband before he passed and all of that, that's it. But overall, good book. But I just wanted more details, throw in some of the steamy stuff here or there. She could have done that with the couples. I actually had to write the names down because I'm like, wait a minute, who is Renee married to? Okay, what was Aria's husband's name? So I had to write the names down just to, and that I think is because we didn't have much history. You know, does
I
that make
totally agree. I totally agree. I totally agree. And out of the four, I saw that you stated out of the four women, you didn't really have a fave.
right? I didn't because I don't feel like I got a chance to really get a fave. If I had more background
Mm-hmm.
of all of the ladies. You know what I'm saying? I know that she touched on what they did, and we know Aria's background and all of that. I think with throwing the dynamic of all four of the ladies in the beginning, um, I don't know. Maybe my mind just couldn't stay on track as far as them sharing their stories later on. But Fave, as far as what they contributed to their story, it would be Aria, because she was spicy, you know what I mean? Like you said, other side of the tracks growing up, and then she marries this. That's the one that's married to the surgeon, right?
Yeah, that's Kingston.
Kingston, right. So,
Mm-hmm.
typical story of a hood chick that end up with a whole different lifestyle. So I guess if I had to choose, it would be her. For now, I don't know what's to come.
Mm-hmm. I agree. I agree. Aria was that one, like you just said. It feels like she had the hood story, and she turned herself around. She got lucky and married a surgeon, and is really, really doing well for herself. So I definitely agree with you for there. Jessa, Renee, Aria, and Jessa each handle their relationships and secrets differently. Which one of the woman's reaction to the mistress message surprised you the most, and why? Because they all were, for those of you who read along, this message came when they all decided to have a spa day. All of the ladies met up, they went and had a spa day. Renee was talking about her situation with Jackson. She and Jackson wasn't on the same page because he really was trying to force her to leave her job. He did not want her to work. He wanted her to be a stay-at-home mom. And if we remember, Jaime started her story off telling us that this was the guys going on the infamous fishing trip.
Mm-hmm.
They had already told us that the fishing trip usually lasts until 7, 8 o'clock p.m. So they had a whole day. And this is another part where I was thinking about you, sis, because I say Cisco say this was a long ass day because
Long ass day. You hear me? That's why I got a 7 child. I'm like, when they gonna get back?
girl, we kept reading and reading. I was like, girl, them men ain't back yet.
I had the taxi driver, the security at the gate. I'm like, dang, how many hours is in this day?
Girl,
Yes.
Jessica done moved out and everything. But I was like, girl, we still in the
Yes.
same day. So I was laughing so hard because I was only thinking about, I said, I know sis said this is a long ass
Baby.
day. They still on
Yes,
day one.
girl.
But so we know they're at the spa, And after Renee shared her story, remember when she went, um, Jackson left by telling her we need to
To
talk,
talk.
but he didn't give her
Yes.
any details. So that was on the back of her mind the
Hmm.
entire time. So that's all she could think of. So as they're sitting at the table, well, she had went to the bathroom. The other ladies were still at the table, and the message, the infamous message,
Hmm.
came through.
Hmm.
Which one of the women's express reaction to the message surprised you the most, and why?
Um, I would really have to, they all struggled with it, and so I don't know if I have one that I can say it surprised me the most, but immediately I thought that it was Jackson based off of him telling her we need to talk. They all had similar reactions to me. They all cared. They all were afraid and paranoid and all of that. So, I wouldn't say one was more than the other,
Mhm.
Yeah. My
I
thoughts.
would say, and I would say mine was Jamie. If you paid attention to Jamie's reaction, she wasn't moved by that text message. And you notice how Aria and the rest of them was looking at her like, you think your relationship is
Right.
perfect,
Look,
because she basically was like, it's got to be one of y'all's husbands
yes,
because it's
not
not
mine.
mine.
Mm-hmm.
So she was the one that wasn't moved. She didn't care. Like Aria and Renee, you saw them stressing out, like, oh my gosh, what's really going on? Is my husband really cheating on me? She didn't care. And this was before we knew what was going on in her household.
Mm-hmm.
But she was not moved. She was like so unbothered. All of the other ladies were trying to reach out to their husbands, and they're not answering the phone. So they really were the ones like, out of all this time and all the times that we've been around Jessa, or our husbands have been around Jessa, and
Mm-hmm.
they're reminiscing on the times that they had, saw their husbands with Jessa, looking back at pictures and all of this stuff. And Jamie was the only one not doing that.
Right.
And so I was side eyeing her the whole time. So to me, her demeanor, um, it was surprising to me more, because I'm like, girl, you just got a message from your supposed best friend telling you that she's sleeping with one of y'all's husbands, and she did not even flinch.
Change. Well, could it be? Because let's not forget. Could it be? I know that she cared because they're building a life together and married. But wasn't it Eric, Jamie's husband, that she found out on a honeymoon he not packing?
Girl, yes, Lord. And could
I
she
said she
just
ain't
not
getting nothing.
care?
Right, this price so she ain't getting nothing in that department. So, but I ain't too concerned.
And but you know what? And the thing about it to me too, because she had already explained to us how uh she waited to her wedding night to
Mm-hmm.
be intimate with her husband, and how disappointed she was, and at the fact that she was going to have to live the rest of her life. How in the world? And then so when we get into hearing Jessa explain her sexual escapades with
Right.
him, and she explaining it like it was the
Fantastic.
bomb.com, and I'm sitting here like, what we missing?
Right.
But then again, that explains how we as women can be so different with the things that we like, and what works
That's
for
true.
us and what doesn't work. Because Jamie explained it as if it was horrible, like the little
Right.
thin, skinny paintings, just
Little
girl couldn't do
intimacy
nothing.
side. Little intimacy side now.
And I said that has to be miserable. Kudos to those who say I'm gonna wait until marriage, baby. You better test that thing out beforehand.
I'm telling you, need to know what I'm be working with.
You're gonna be
But
highly disappointed.
that immediately, right, sis, but that immediately made me write Eric off as the one, could it be him? But you're right. Some women can bring out other things sexually with these guys. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I'm intrigued. So yeah.
Yeah. I was the same. I was surprised by her expression. But as we got into her story and remembering what she said about on her wedding day, I was like, well, she unbothered because she really don't care. And kudos to Jessa if he giving her something he ain't giving me, because it's basically like I already know he ain't got nothing. So 9 times out of 10, he'll be back if she actually slept with him and see what he's working with. But different stroke for different folks.
Yeah. because you know.
So speaking with Jamie, because we knew she was highly confident. She portrayed herself to be above the rest of the ladies, like she was super bougie. What do
Mhm.
you think she was really afraid of losing? Because, and we knew as we got into the book, she ended up telling, but she was very confident in herself. But what do you think she was afraid of losing if Eric happened to be the culprit?
Um, I don't know. You know what I got from Jamie? Is Jamie the one where her parents?
Yes, she was one with
Okay.
the parents, and he and Eric's parents were the prestigious judge and stuff.
Right. I don't know. For me, I just felt like she was afraid just of losing that ideal image. You know what I mean? I really don't think that she wants to be with Eric in that way, you know. But if I need to keep up this portrayal of happiness for the parents, you know, it felt like she cared more about what they felt than how she's really feeling. And that's obvious when it comes to pleasure. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. I think that she was afraid of just losing that overall happy married, happy wife and husband life, you know.
Yeah, because if we remember, that was part of her story. She was the one who basically her parents forced her into believing the successful husband, the house with the picket fence, and the perfect marriage, and all of that kind of stuff. I feel that she was living that life for her parents, and that wasn't really who she was, but she
Mhm.
was just trying to be pleasing to her parent, and she was miserable. And I was
Yep.
just looking like, just imagine all of the women who are in relationships and miserable because they're just trying to keep up this facade to please either a parent or onlookers, to make people
Mhm.
think that they are this, that, and the third. But when you go behind those closed doors and how, he was treating her, it was horrible, and she was miserable, and she didn't have a backbone because
Yeah.
her family life showed us that it was something deeper. And I'm hoping that when we get into, and we will, as we get into these books, they're going to give a little bit more detailed about her family life with her mom and
Good.
dad and
Good.
why she's like she is. And I hope
Mhm.
this, I don't remember this happening with Jessa's story, but I know with Jamie's story, we're going to deep dive into her childhood and why she's like she is. Her
Mhm.
parents are horrible. Um, but it explains later on why she's like she is.
Yes.
Which one of the four women do you think was the real glue to the group?
I would say I think I would have to pick Aria, honestly. And she's the youngest of them all, correct?
Yes, Aria is the youngest.
Yeah, if I'm looking at it in a way, as far as how they all basically became friends, especially the Jessa. First of all,
Mhm.
shout out to the author. I told sis this on the phone the other day. When I first started reading the book, I was just really like, her name is Jezebel. You know, just Jezebel. But naturally,
Mhm.
it's Jezza.
Jezebel.
But I don't know. For me, sis, I would probably have to say Aria. I don't know. That's why I said I wanted more details, even as far as the friendships, and maybe I would have a better answer. But we jumped right into the whole. They're all married and all of that. I would have liked to have started this story off somehow, just more of the friends. But I'll say Aria was the glue for me.
And I felt that Renee would have been. And the reason why I say Renee is because Renee was the oldest, and they all felt like they could talk to Renee, because they all, when we started deep diving into the friendships, they all had some backhanded, like, slick remarks toward each other,
Mhm.
except Renee. And we know Aria fell out with Renee when Renee told her that she almost cheated. And that's when that their relationship shifted, and she lost respect for Renee at that point. But I think they all kind of sort of looked up to Renee more
Yeah.
because she was the oldest one in the group, and they thought that, they had the family, she had the husband, she didn't have to work, but she chose to work, and they kind of looked at her as being the glue. Because again, even when Jamie was deciding to leave Eric, she said the only one she would tell was Renee. So
Mhm.
they kind of felt like the other ones, they judged each other a lot. And they felt like Renee was not judgmentahl. She was
Uh,
the more, Um, the wiser one because she was older.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha. Gotcha.
Let me see what.
Let me ask you before you move on, though. Do you think that you're able to determine even that based off of reading the whole series before? Um, or did you get all of that just from that one, the first book that we
No,
read?
I just got it from the first book because just listening at like each of their individual when they were all in their moments of thinking back on the history of their relationships, their marriages, they all tend it. Renee seemed to be the one that came back full circle because the rest of them had stories of like with Aria and Jessa. She said many times our relationship was based on competing with each other. It was always a one-up situation.
Right.
Then Aria always said when Jaime thought she was the bougie one and thought her shit didn't stink and think that she was perfect. So each one of them had those type of conversations about or thoughts about each other. But Renee was the one that they tend to have thought had her stuff together.
Together
And they
more.
did know that she too was going through stuff behind the scenes.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what made me question their friendship levels as well. Because how do you not know that your friend dealing with all of this? So, like, what girlfriend wouldn't have told a friend, like, "Girl, I slept with this Negro on the first night," and
Absolutely.
and when Jamie was explaining that to her friends after her wedding, they was like, "Girl, how was it?" And she lied to them and told them that it was good. So if I'm your friend, you should feel close enough to me to be able, like, girl, I wasted my time.
But
Like Gia said, she saved herself for nothing.
right, girl, look, don't do it. I don't know if you saw Gia. Gia
Gia
said,
said, I did test runs. Call me fast, hey, fancy, fancy.
right, but look, can we look
You
at
are
the
not alone, Gia.
can we look at the ladies' friendships like that? Like, how did they not know? Or again, was that a misstep when it comes to the author? That's why I
I
could
think
not give it a high score.
Yeah, again, I think the author could have given us more details about how the relationships actually came
Yes.
about because based off what we were reading, if we're just going by what we were reading in this book, it seems like everybody came together because of the guys. Like they were
Right.
having these prestigious parties in the neighborhood and the
Hmm.
guys would invite all of these people and then they would bring their wives and just typical these kind of people, like the husbands go off to one area, then the wives come together and they form the relationships based off that because okay, we're gonna see you at your party next weekend. And I
Hmm.
don't think they really had the opportunity to form real friendships. It was good
Right.
associateships, if
Yeah.
that's a word. We hang out because our husbands basically force us onto each other and we have to show up when our husbands show up. So we're on their arm. So of course we gonna be there. So I may as well talk to her. So I
Mhm.
think that's where it came from. And after the guys were always fishing, they was like, well, since they fishing, we'll hang out with the wives because it didn't seem like they had other friendships outside of each other. Because outside of Aria having her cousins and her family on the other side of the tracks, you didn't hear any of the other ladies talk about outside friendships.
Mhm. Mhm.
So I think it was more so like a force thing.
Yeah.
Uh, Teresa said Gia, she ended up with a moose knuckle. Yes, she did, child.
Ainsley Wincy child didn't do
She had
nothing.
an inch. Cup of it, girl. I would have been so disappointed.
Wow.
Oh my gosh, girl, don't do that. I don't suggest that to anybody, but to each his own. Teresa said her husband has problems. I was hoping she left him. Oh, he was a mess. He was a mess. You hear me? Um, Teresa says, I think Aria as well. Yes, she said, I think our thoughts would change after each book. Yes,
For sure.
definitely. Our thoughts will definitely change as we get into the story. Renee struggles with self image and her husband's distance. Do you think she was truly a victim or was she part of her own downfall? So we remember her struggles came with her husband wanting her to basically choose between family and her working. Do
Mhm.
you think that she was truly a victim or did you think she was a part of her own downfall?
I think she's a part of her own downfall, because look, if you we somebody just said it last night. What you put up with is what you end up with. We say that all the time. And I
Hmm.
felt like, if she knew that she wanted this career and all of that, let that be known in the beginning. It's a non negotiable. Yeah, I think that she contributed. Me
I
personally.
agree. I think she did too. And just like you said, this goes back to the author not really giving us a lot of details. I
Exactly.
would have liked to have heard more about when this conversation actually came
Yes.
to play with them and her agreeing to not work. Like, give us a little bit more details. Like, is this something that he just randomly said, or was this a part of their agreement at the beginning of their marriage,
Right.
and I want you to be a kept woman and I don't want you to work, and she agreed to it then?
Hmm.
Or was it a situation to where she said, well, I won't work right now while we're raising the kids, but when the kids get a certain age I want to work, and then he didn't want it to. So I would have liked to have us to get a little bit more details in that area.
Do you think
um
this? Do you think that do you think if the author did take that path, like I mentioned earlier, of giving us the breakdown, because she still could have threw the spice in there that'll keep us
mhm.
wanting to read. Do you think that she should have really? I mean, do you think that would have made a difference as far as us being intrigued enough to continue to read if she took that path of giving us this history? Because we still don't know yet. I get it that we'll know more about each couple as we continue to read. But do you think that, for instance, you would have continued reading had she given us the detail instead of coming out with the Jezebel part of it like she did in the beginning?
I think I would have, because now I can see from her point of view how she immediately came out right away with this message and
Mm-hmm.
how that keeps people intrigued. But after the message and after they were deep diving into just reevaluating their relationships and their lives, period, that's
Yeah.
where, we started to find out more about Jamie and what was going on with Jamie, more about Aria. So I feel like she could have also done the same thing for Jessa and Renee, to give us a little bit without giving us too much, to
Mm-hmm.
kind of help us put the pieces together to
Yeah.
say, okay, well, we see why Jamie is why she is. So I get
Right.
that, she wanted to keep the suspense level high by
Yeah.
giving the and keeping us guessing, but still, even with having us know a little bit more details about like their past, that
Mm-hmm.
still would not have taken away the fact that one of these friends sent this message, and
Exactly.
now they're all having to reevaluate their relationships. So she could
Mm-hmm.
have done better in that space, and it still would have held the attention of the readers, because we want to see, like, who is this heifer sending this message and why,
How
and
did
what kind of friend are you?
Yeah, yeah. How did Jess get that low down and scandalous? We needed more, and even withholding the end as far as her being stood up, even that for me, I get it. The husband was spooked because she sent that text message and
Mhm.
decided not to go. But I think we needed a bit more of that. So I'm
Yeah,
ready.
because just like if we pay attention to Jamie, she explained why she was like she was because of her parents. Like, it was like she had to be this perfect being.
Hmm.
So for Jessa, we would have liked to know
Right.
hired you? Like, who made you like you are? You didn't just get like this because your
Right.
husband passed away. Like, give us a little bit more, because we know she's scandalous, because if you hear the conversations that Aria was talking about them being friends in the past and how she used to do her. So we know you just as out there as Aria was. So you're not perfect either. So give us a little bit more of that.
Yeah, yeah. Agreed. Agreed. We needed more because that's a huge character flaw. You know what
Are
I'm saying?
huge.
When you don't care about not only one of the friends, the one that you're sleeping with, the husband, but all of them. That's deep in somebody's character to move that way. And yeah, it was a misstep from the author for me because of that.
I totally agree. And for Aria, so we know in the beginning, Aria appeared to have the perfect life. And yet, when we got into more details, cracks in her story began to show. So, in the beginning, when she was introduced to us, she was introduced as the hood girl from across the tracks that went to school off of a college scholarship. She ended up meeting this, got a journalism scholarship, ended up meeting this doctor that happened to be a doctor. They got married early on and she was young. And she talked about the lifestyle that she had. Um, do you think before we found out about that past lifestyle, did you think she and Kingston came off as having the perfect life, the perfect relationship?
I don't know if I would say perfect, but it seemed like a pretty good marriage. Again, I love stories like that, real life stories where they're two completely different people and end up with each other. So no, honestly, with all of them, as far as the marriages, I didn't look at any of them as having a perfect marriage because of the details that we did get. The husband not working with anything with not that that should really make a difference when it comes to the marriage, but
Mhm.
Eric not being able to please Jaime, Renee, Jackson saying again they needed to talk. But I guess out of all of them, I would look at their marriage as, yeah, probably, more perfect than others. Let's put it like that. That's about as
Mhm.
much. Right, Gia. That's what I'm trying to say. I saw
Right.
imperfections in all.
All of them.
Yeah.
And I think at some point within their friendship circle, they all came off as if they were perfect. And,
Mhm.
based off what we saw, none of them really shared what was really going on in their households.
Mhm.
For whatever reason, they all showed up and you got what you saw, but you didn't get the real who they were and what they were really experiencing because nobody knew how Eric was treating Jamie behind closed doors. Nobody knew the issues going on between Renee and Jackson, and
Mhm.
nobody knew the secret that Aria held that her husband doesn't even know. So they all had imperfections for sure. Teresa
Mhm.
says, I was wondering if I was with my friends and we all received a message like that, how would I react? Even though I know how my husband is, would I be tripping? And what was your answer? What was your answer, Teresa? If you were sitting at the table and you were the one who got that message, I
I give
think,
you mine.
yeah,
I'm hopping on the boat. I'm going fishing, baby.
baby,
I
listen.
would have been tripping, and I would have went right. It wouldn't been no all day nothing. I'm going right on down there to that riverbank. And if I don't know how to operate a boat, somebody gonna operate. We get into the
Listen, because
bottom.
we damn well sure wouldn't have been just sitting there looking at each other, thinking and wondering which one it was, baby. We about to find this out today. We
Say,
on our way down, like she said, we gonna charter us a boat and we gonna go
baby,
out there in the middle of the water.
in the middle of the water. You hear me? Jump your ass over on this boat right now.
Because some
I
of
got
y'all
a full
on
life
us.
jacket. Look, sis, I'm a, this life jacket. Put that life jacket on. Get on up over here. Okay. So
Because
yeah, I'm
we find it out. So I think in that instant, they wasted a lot of time
sure.
and they caused themselves a little bit too much more stress than needed because they
Yeah.
just sitting there going back and forth with each other, and that too also tested their relationships because you saw at that point they start throwing daggers at each other, and that's when the real of how they felt about each other start coming
Mm-hmm.
out. How you ain't perfect, your shit stink too, and like
Mm-hmm.
all of this stuff. So I think this text message, although it was horrible for her to do, something like this was needed to test the relationship and where they all stood. So it's going to be interesting to see how these relationships play out toward the end. Who's really real and still holding it down for each other versus, you know, them realizing that we really just not friends anyway. And this is all a facade on all of our on all of our ends. So we know that the story begins with this old explosive text message. If you were in their shoes, would you have confronted your husband first or would you have confronted Jezebel first?
Husband all day long.
Mm-hmm.
All day long. I'm married to him, not her. Now I'm gonna confront her. Don't get me wrong, but no. First and foremost, I'm not guessing. Is it my husband? Girl, is it yours? No. So yeah, I'm going to the husband first. Period.
I totally agree. And that's what a lot of us as women, the first thought is always the other woman.
You
But
know.
we have to understand that for one, his loyalty is to us, not that person, be it friend or foe. but the bond we have with our husbands are the ones that we need to check first. So if he is involved with another woman that sent me this text message, my first cue is, like you say, load the boat up, get your life jackets. We going out here on this water, and we're about to have a conversation. And I know a couple of them did try calling their husbands, but of course it was going to voicemail. But I still would have reserved, although I would have been pissed. Now I would have been pissed at Jessa as my friend for
Yeah.
you not showing your coward ass up to this spa day, and you gonna
Mhm.
stay back and send us this text message. I mean, if you gonna be about it, be about it. Show your ass up at this brunch and sit
That
at this table face to face and tell us this conversation. So you took the coward way out by sending the text message. But then also, I'm thinking, you sent us a text message saying that you were sleeping with one of our husbands. So that caused us to start trying to reevaluate our relationship to kind of see,
mhm.
have we noticed anything between the two of y'all before? But we sitting here like getting upset and we really don't have the answer. Like for me, I was sitting there like, well, what if she lying? Like, what
Right.
if she, you know what I'm saying? Like, what if she lying and y'all getting all upset at y'all husbands? And again, y'all supposed to trust each other. Where is the trust in your marriage if you feel like this one text message? And I think Kingston was the one that ended up saying that to Aria. So you mean to tell me just one text message to cause you to mistrust me and not
Right.
trust me as your husband for all these years? So it was so many life stories in what we were reading. Although we were pissed off at Jessa, coward ass, for sending this text message and
Exactly.
not showing up face to face. But it did show like some real life stuff. Like,
Mhm.
this is how we're reacting. Like, how would you react? And I know we can't say how we would react unless we're in the situation, but I always want to address my man first because you're
Mhm.
the one who owes me answers, not her. But what if it's a lie? Like, are you really playing some kind of slick game?
Yeah.
And you sending us all this message at the same time? Because if you really were sleeping with one of these men, why not send it to the person's wife that you were sleeping with and why involve everybody? So that's what like kind of had me side eyeing the ladies. I'm like, come on, y'all. You jumping too fast and
Mhm.
you immediately accusing your husband of something and you don't even know the facts yet
But
because this is just a message.
right, but that also, and it's real life, really, when you think about it, because it also showed that, yeah, there was something deeper going on in each of their marriages. So I get why the author did that. But you're right. Who was it? It was Aria, wasn't it, that wanted to sleep with the taxi cab driver? And
Yeah, girl, she was ready the same day she got the man.
right, so that was weird to me. You get this
Mhm.
message, and now all of a sudden you ready to go ahead and risk it all. But I had to think, yeah, obviously there's more that was going on with each of them in their marriages. But yeah, you're right. What if this chick just cuckoo and sent this to us, and nobody gonna say, "Girl, look, let's peep game. This chick is miserable. She wanna mess up all of our marriages, and let's go on about our day." So I get it for the sake of the book and the series that she had to show that they all were going through something. But that was look long ass day. Now again, we at the spa. We sitting there drinking the finest of tequila and all of that. And next thing you know, I'm ready to sleep with the cab drive. It was just too much. Too
And
much.
and I'm glad you said that about reminding me about Aria wanting to sleep with the cab driver. How
Mm-hmm.
dare you try to look at Renee sideways because she said she almost slept with her assistant and your ass was ready to sleep with the
Right,
cab driver.
right.
How dare you try to act like you were better in that instance and you did the same thing.
Exactly.
You were about to do it until Renee is the one to stop you from doing it.
Yeah, yeah. I agree.
And I
I,
totally had forgot about that part. So thank you for bringing that up. I
mhm.
totally had forgot. But yes, I would most definitely, if I got the message, I would, to
Girl,
me, again, I would have been hold off and waited until he got home and I would have showed him this message. Is it
mm-mm.
you?
I
Like,
couldn't have held off this. If
no,
I
I wouldn't have held off. Now, if I couldn't have, like I said, we getting on the boat. If we could have got on the boat to get there,
right, we
but
didn't know where they were
I
fishing.
would have reserved accusing him
Yeah,
until we actually had the conversation, because
absolutely.
you can tell me anything over the phone via text, but I need to be in your face to see your
That's true.
reaction. So I would not have told him over the phone about this message. We're gonna be face to face so I can see your
Right.
reaction to it. Because you can kind of tell when they eyeballs stuff. You know how I feel about people not being able to look you in the eye. And you
Child.
can tell, your mate, when they lying, their behaviors. So you
Right.
would have been able to see it, but I would have definitely been on that boat. I wouldn't have sit there and
Yeah.
just still been sitting up there just drinking myself to death like Renee was like.
Yes. And going through all of those emotions, you know what I'm saying? So you're right. I would have waited had I known or had not known where they were fishing and all of that. You know what I mean? And I couldn't go to him immediately. But
Mm,
yeah, the emotions that they all experience, like you just mentioned, the drinking and them getting into it, having their own little side arguments throughout the day and all of that. You know, I'm going to try. Look, let's go shopping. After we got the text, we finished with the spa. Let's go shopping. I'm gonna spend my day like I normally would because I would have just immediately felt like it was some BS because she sent it to everybody. You know what I mean? So
I
yeah.
totally agree. Teresa said, wasn't Renee trying to sleep with her assistant the night before or the next day or what day? The
Mm,
book started going all over the place. Actually, Renee, that situation where Renee happened when she was going to accept an award and her daughter had a recital, and the
mhm,
husband said that he was going to show up with her and he didn't show up with the kid. He made a big deal about her choosing to go accept this award while her daughter had a recital. And and when I looked at him sideways because she was like, the girl have a recital every week. What's going to hurt for me to miss this one to go accept this award? So I thought he was being very selfish in that manner as well. I
yeah,
feel like even he could have handled that situation a whole lot better, because you know she's working. If y'all can't come to some sort of common ground to say either work part-time and
mhm,
all this kind of stuff, or if the daughter got a recital every single week, what is it gonna hurt for me to miss this one recital? You go to
right,
the recital, you bring her, and y'all come to the award ceremony. So
mhm,
that's when she was at the bar, Teresa, drinking after she saw that he never showed up with the kids for her award ceremony. And that's when the assistant walked up and um, introduced that proposal to her. Come to find out his tail was gay. Sis, what would you have done?
wow.
I'm sitting here like, first of all, you come over here trying to propose me, but you using me as a scapegoat, trying to see if you could get your little penis hard
Okay.
with a woman. No, girl, she said, just get up, just get up.
Okay, now.
Girl, I was so tickled, and I was like, "Are you gonna tell him, or you just gonna sit there and fake the funk?" But yeah, that's when that situation happened, Teresa. Not it wasn't the day before this situation happened. I think that had been like in the past, because based off what she was saying, this whole disagreement with them about her working had been going on for quite a while, and it had been the root of their issues that she knew. But as we got deeper on into this story, that Negro was just using that as a mean to cover up that shit he was doing. He
Mhm,
knew he had some shit going on behind the scenes, which is why he sent that little text talking about we need to talk.
mhm,
That situation right there, when I read that, I was pissed at him, because you don't leave for no fishing trip with that message, knowing what
I'm
you needed
telling
to tell me. That's some shit you need to tell me, and you ain't going nowhere.
you. I
So
agree.
I was pissed at him that way, because when I was like, "Oh, you giving her all this grief about working a nigga, you girl," I
Mhm.
was upset. Um, what was your initial thought when the message came through? When Jessa sent the message, before we found out any other details about what they all had going on, what were your initial thoughts when that Mistress message came through to the girls?
Well, you guys should know how my mind operates. And again, I just felt like it was BS. I also felt like coward, sending a message. You could have said that face to face, moving and all of that. But for the sake of reading a book, I was in suspense. You know what I mean? But yeah, I can't help but to try to relate it to how I would really, really feel in the moment. And yeah, I don't think I would have been bothered, me personally, to the extent of all of the ladies, how they reacted. But for the suspense factor, yeah, I liked it. What was yours?
I did too. I was like, girl, what? When I saw the message, and I was sitting there like, so that's why you didn't show up to brunch. That's why you could meet us at the spa. You over here and you gonna sit. And I thought that was very coward. I was, of course, like you said, interested in knowing which one of the husbands was it. Um, Again, I didn't think it would be Eric because of what Jaime had already said about his situation. So I had immediately removed him off the list. Um, I thought it would have been Jackson, Renee's wife, because, like you said, because of the message. I never thought it would be Kingston, though. I always just really felt like he had a genuine love for Aria and that his love and their relationship was really real. But then again, as we were getting into reading, look at the secrets that they were all holding. She was holding a secret from him, and I'm sitting there side eyeing her like, how could you even be mad if, let's say, for instance, if it was Kingston, how you mad? You sitting up here saying you can't even have kids, and this man don't even know. And every time he's talking to you, he's telling you he want a kid, he want a kid. So I feel like that's going to backfire on her. And I'm like, how are you that mad? And the secret that you have is far worse than him having an affair.
Yes, yes, I agree. Whose husband was it, sis, that Jessa left and went to the store with? Remember the barbecue or whatever they were having? At,
That was Kingston.
that was Kingston. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
okay.
Yep. Remember, he said that she was having a bad day or something.
And
Something was going on with her, and he was like, "Come ride with me to the store." And Aria was looking out of the window, and they pulled up, but she just never said anything to him
right,
about it. And
right. Which left me in suspense though, of because how you just said, I was feeling that way as well. Like it couldn't be Kingston, but even with
mhm,
them going to the store together, and she walked on the side of the house to go back to the barbecue, and he decided to come in the front door. If it was real, real, just friends, and hey, she's going through something, what would have been the big deal with both of them walking back in together? So I get
mhm,
it again because of the author trying to make it not easy for us to put together who it is. But
mhm.
I gave that a side eye. I did.
And even the same way, you remember when Renee was walking into the house and he and Jackson and Jackson and Jessa was sitting close to each other on the couch. And when she
Mhm,
walked in, they jumped and they started shifting on the couch to try to remove themselves from being so close. And Renee
mhm.
was asking what they were talking about. So the author did do she did a good job in painting the suspense because she made
Right.
it difficult for us to really, really say who it was based off of the different scenarios. They were telling that they caught their husbands in certain positions with Jessa. So
Yeah.
she did do a really good story in explaining that. Teresa said, "Remember, Aria told him to drop them drawers so she could sniff." Girl, I was
Sure.
cracking. Girl,
Why would
every
they do that though? That's crazy.
time.
Look, I would have to know that my man, you at least gonna go what you know what I'm saying, clean up. But a lot of women do that. Drop them drawers. I want to smell
Uh-uh.
it. Girl, I never ever.
Never. But when she did that, before we found out why she was doing it, I was laughing because I was like, oh, okay, she's one of them. But we had no idea. So it actually showed, and this highlighted the fact that Aria really never trusted Kingston. They came off as if they had the perfect marriage, but she was doing all of that stuff because remember, he started running down the fact that he was like, I know you be doing this because you don't trust me. I know
Mhm.
that you be clocking my every move, you tracking me. Just imagine all of the stuff that she was doing to
Yeah.
prove that he wasn't cheating. And then she ended up further in the story saying that she was doing that because she didn't trust men because of all of her tricking days. She was tricking off with married men that would be on the phones with their wives and she would be right there with them. So it was hard for her to believe him when he said that he wasn't the one that was messing with Jessa. And she was like, but I've heard this from married men before.
Hmm.
So again, like we said at the beginning, I feel like these women knew exactly who they married. They allowed themselves to go into their relationship still in the back of their minds, thinking that they didn't trust, or feeling that they didn't trust their husbands, because they all had these issues. And then when I was looking at Aria run hers down, and I'm sitting there like, girl, I thought you were like the one. Like,
Right.
and I thought that you said this was the love of your life and y'all had the perfect relationship. But then the way you, girl, that takes too much time in a day to be doing all of that when you don't trust a person.
Yes, ma'am.
That's crazy. Miss Lady, hey sis, thanks for being here. She said one of the problems I had was all the women told her all their secrets. Sometimes you have to keep some stuff to yourself, even as close friends. I
Hmm.
totally agree. I totally agree. But if you pay attention, they told Jessa, but they didn't tell each other a
And
lot of this
tell
stuff that
themselves,
they told Jessa, which is
right,
crazy.
right. Why would they? I get Aria to a certain extent because her and Jessa were friends before the other ladies, but they had their own competitiveness going on even in college and all of that. But
Hmm.
that's why I say it felt disjointed because what would make them feel like Jessa was the one that was worthy of holding their secrets? We didn't get that.
Hmm. I totally agree. I didn't get that either. I don't understand why they felt like she would be the one. But again, look at Mad Day, and now she's the one that's holding the key to all of their secrets, that she can blow
Yeah.
all their ish up.
Yeah.
Yes, Teresa, Aria did not trust Kingston because of her past. That's exactly why she couldn't trust him, because she knew exactly what she was doing, or had done in her past. Yes, Gia says that's why we need more of Jessa's story.
For sure.
We totally do. Hopefully, we will. I can't remember if we do get more. I think we get more of the background of the other couples, but I can't remember about Jessa.
Mm.
So now let's talk about the men. We had Jackson, we had Eric, we had Kingston, and Mark, which was Jessa's. We didn't get a chance to hear his story because he had passed away. Were any of the men in this story truly innocent, or did each of them play a role in the chaos as well? Do you think the men were innocent?
No, men are never innocent for me, and I love me some men, but no, I think they all played a part in all of the feelings of mistrust, or you know what I'm saying, when it comes to their wives and all of that. And I hate to keep saying it, but again, that's why I needed more of a history lesson of these people before we delve into all of these stories. But no, I don't think they were innocent. None of them, actually, at
I
all.
don't either. I totally agree, because they all had their stuff as well.
Hmm.
They all had their flaws and everything in their own selective relationships. So I don't think they were innocent as well. And I also don't think that, um, as you being my husband, and yes, we are coupled up a lot, but we have this one single friend. It's just some shit just off limits. Yes, she my friend, but you ain't gonna be all up in my husband's face every time I turn around and I move. And to the point to where even when Jessa was explaining how she and Eric was getting together, she was doing that shit right in front of James'
Hmm.
face, basically. You slipping out the house while we having girls' night. The nigga done came and he in the, in the garage, and y'all all out there getting it in, and we in the house, and y'all slip off to another room. Like, you was really like in my face with this stuff. And I thought
Hmm.
that was very disrespectful. But as far as a married man, you ain't got no business in my single friend, having my single friend in your face. You ain't got no business taking my single friend to no store with you without coming and tell you, like, honey, we getting ready to go to the store. She
Right.
gonna ride. Like, you don't do stuff like that. You ain't sitting on the same couch in my house when I'm not there. My First of all, my single friend ain't gonna be at my house while I ain't there.
Period.
We're gonna start there. So it's a lot
And
of
it's not that we're insecure, sis. It's just an
right,
unknown rule, an
right.
unsaid rule. That's not happening.
It
Ever.
just don't look right.
Yeah.
It just doesn't look right. If my friend ain't there, I'm not showing up to your house until you get there. I'm not gonna be the first one at your house and you ain't there. You at the store, but your husband the only way he'll let you in. No, ma'am. I trust my husband
I
wholeheartedly, but
consider the
my
car.
single friend ain't about to be up in my house. And y'all sitting on the same couch out of all these damn
Girl
couches in
back,
here.
girl back. And look, again, we can trust our mates completely. It's not that, as
But
I
we
just
ain't crazy.
right, it's not insecurity, but you never ever know what could be, even unfortunately, in your friend's mind. That it could be jealousy. Oh my God, he takes care of her. Look at this beautiful home. Next thing you know, she then dropped a ink pen on the floor and bending over. And I'm walking in, no, we just, for that reason alone. I think I told you guys, one of my friends, we're no longer friends, and I think she got upset because I didn't let her move in our home in Arizona when she decided to relocate there. And her, she never, in the beginning, she never said anything like, I need a place to stay. It wouldn't have been a big deal. Girl, come on over for the weekend. I went and bought a comforter set. She never showed up. She wanted to stay. No woman is staying in no house of mine with me and my man. That's just period.
Mhm.
And we're no
And
longer friends.
again, like you say, it has nothing to do with insecurities. It's just as a woman. As a
Yeah,
woman, I wouldn't even ask you to let me stay in the house with you and your husband. It's just some things are just unspoken rules, and some stuff is just girl code. It has nothing to do with whether you trust him or not. But at the end of the day, that nigga's a man. And a man will be a man. You ain't gonna be walking around here in your little skimpy clothes and he catching glances and all of this kind of stuff. Like you
you.
don't, when you don't want issues, you don't put the temptation in front of their faces
Yep.
either. It's just stuff that you don't do, and it has nothing to do with being insecure. You just don't do stuff. And then the times to where Jaime was mentioning every time you turn around something broke, her ass calling Eric. Girl, call the handyman.
You
You're
better
not
call a
calling
boy.
y'all stayed in this prestigious gated community. I'm quite sure y'all had a homeowners association mechanic or whatever you needed that you could have called. Don't be calling my husband. And then I don't even know you over there.
Baby, you better Google the nearest handyman, okay?
Right.
My husband is not about to be it, period. And
And
then
all
she
in the time
gotta
she
go
was talking about, she telling him she needed something done at the house, but his ass over there, I'll be there when I finish this. If you
right,
don't get your ass over here and
right. And then she gotta go down there and act like she wanna help assemble some shit. First of all, he would know better. You know what I'm saying? And I guess things like that may happen, but no, never in my circle other than that one incident. And it didn't even get to that point because girl, no, you're not moving in my house. I was in a 3,800 square foot home. No man. Had 4, 5 bedrooms. Yeah. Look, the night before he and I could have had a big argument. He could have just
Mhm.
been venting. I'm out shopping somewhere. And she could have easily said, or in any case, not just mine, oh, I would never react like that. That's how things like this start. So don't
Mhm.
even make that a thing.
I totally agree. And like Teresa said, that's also why you don't tell your friends everything about your man. They
Mhm,
learn how to use what you say as a problem to win your man over. Great
mhm.
point, because I believe this is exactly what Jessa was doing. She was playing this game because she know these ladies had already confided in her about some stuff that was going on in their relationships. Ain't no telling what. And this is again where you were saying, sis, we wish the author would have given us more. We
I
don't really know what they were talking about in these little situations to where he was coming over to help her fix shit, or the time when she went on the ride with Kingston to the store, sitting on the couch with
yeah,
Jackson. What the hell was y'all talking about?
right. How did they get there? That the
Right.
missed opportunity. I can't say it enough. I still like the book, and as I
Mm-hmm.
mentioned, I'm still intrigued to read more. But the author absolutely could have done better. We needed to know how, they were that comfortable with each other as them being the male friends and their little group and the female friends. How did that interaction start? I don't
Mm-hmm.
get it.
I
All
totally
my look, let me say this. All my friends think all my men were trash in bed.
agree. Girl, that was horrible.
Trash.
Like, girl, I hate I wasted my time.
Girl, but I love them though, girl. That's all.
Right.
I ain't going nowhere. I love never tell a woman
Yeah,
how
I'm gonna stick
a
with
man is in bed. He trash. Okay?
that. Definitely want to test it out line too.
Yes.
And so, out of all of the relationship, was there one relationship that you hoped would survive, despite everything that they were going through, despite the message? Which one of the relationships did you really hope would survive what they were going through?
I'm gonna say Aria and Kingston again. That's how I feel at this moment.
Mm-hmm.
Jamie and Eric, I want Jamie to free herself. She's miserable. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? Like you said, he treat her like straight garbage. Go ahead and free yourself. We talk about this often how a lot of women will stay in the marriages because of the embarrassment of announcing a divorce. It's over. I'm guilty of it. I stayed a tad bit longer for several reasons. So I want Jamie to free herself. Renee and Jackson, I'm cool with them, working through their things. But I would say Aria and Kingston.
I do too. I would definitely agree with that, being Aria and Kingston, because again, they were to me like the young and up and coming couple, and they had a lot going for themselves. Excuse me. And Aria could use, her past as inspiration to, because she came from
Right.
coming from across the tracks to what she was accustomed to just doing a really, really big life change and adjustment. And she's working in journalism, and her husband is a surgeon, and all of this kind of stuff. I am really rooting for their relationship, and I really wish she would be honest and tell that man about her not being able to conceive a child, because that's a deep secret for you to hold when you know that man desires to have a child.
Mhm.
So that I know is really going to shake their relationship, but that's the couple that I am definitely rooting for. Rooting for Renee and Jackson as well, but to me, it's like they're an old couple. Like y'all been together, y'all got the kids. I feel like their situation is kind of minor to me, because it feels like they got history, and they've been together since college and all of
Mhm.
this stuff. And I just feel like although they have issues, it's a little bit like minor compared to the deep stuff the other ones have. The
Mhm.
deep, deep secrets. Although Jackson has a secret that's gonna rock her. We know at the end, somewhere during the book, he told this lady he had a baby
Yeah.
that she didn't know about. So in turn, she had spent this whole long ass day trying to decide if he was the one that was cheating with Jessa,
Mhm.
only to find out that his secret, he had a secret, but it wasn't this secret.
Wasn't that
And she about went crazy. How did you feel when she pulled that gun out on him when she
baby? You gotta ask me that, child.
Oh, I forgot.
Well, Renee, no, my girl.
I was like, girl, when she clicked that trigger back, I'm like, boy, you better go. Because you don't get to just stand there after you done told me
Yeah.
something like that. And was another issue in the book that where I kind of was like, okay, the author could have did a lot better.
More.
They
Yeah.
coming back from this fishing trip, and they all coming into their perspective homes with this text message issue that's blowing. Nigga, it ain't about to be no get together at
Period.
nobody's house. Ain't nobody going nowhere talking about we about to hang out after this fishing trip. Y'all got too much drama going on.
That's right.
So
That's
I wish she would have, like, because all of them, like, are we still going to Renee and Jackson's? And no, ain't nobody going to Renee and Jackson's, because
girl.
this text message, although um y'all are saying that you weren't the culprit, this opened the door for all the other issues that we really having. So
Mm-hmm.
nobody is going to make it. So I just felt that, with her, Renee finding out about this whole baby thing, I was sitting there like, Negro, you out of all of this time, you've been stressing this lady about quitting this damn job, and you got a whole baby.
Oh, baby child.
So
Yeah.
that really what like blew me. So again, there was a part that intrigued me to keep reading, because I'm like, okay, I want to
For
hear about
sure.
this. I want
Mhm.
to hear about what's going on with this relationship. So, but this opened like a whole like can of worms for everybody. All of their secrets were exposed. I
Mhm.
think it showed like who had real loyalty to each other. Do you think any of the ladies really had loyalty to each other as friends?
No, I don't. I don't. And it's sad. That's why I said I feel like they're friends by way of just being neighbors. I hope it changes. You know what I mean? But yeah, at this point, no, I don't think so.
I totally agree. Now let's talk about Eric and Jamie's relationship. How did you feel about their relationship dynamic after like all of this? Because after the text message and all of this stuff, were you shocked to read about what was going on behind closed doors with Eric and Jamie?
Absolutely. You mean as far as him demanding she
Yeah.
yeah, I was very shocked. It didn't seem, because again, coming from the parents that she came from and all of that, I would have never expected her to be that type of, woman that would, well, no, I guess I can take that back because, yeah, she's trained to believe that marriage is everything. But yeah, in a nutshell, I was shocked at what he had her doing. Yeah,
I
because
was too.
their marriage didn't give that.
Hmm.
I'm sorry for continuing to say it. If the author would have given us more, where we would have been able to determine that he was a jerk and would, require that or ask things like that of her, then yes, it wouldn't have been a shock. But yeah, I was shocked. I
I
was.
totally agree. And all of this, and if we deep dive into the situation that happened, we know that she started. First of all, how did you feel about pleasure?
Pleasure. Look,
Shout out to pleasure, pleasure if you listening.
hey, hey,
Holly,
pleasure.
if you hear us.
How you doing, pleasure? Pleasure did what needed to be done,
Pleasure
okay?
say, have you been pleasured? Pleasure
Oh,
say, it's my pleasure.
my pleasure. Well,
Girl,
pleasure
pleasure turned Jamie every way but loose
there,
in
which
that strip club.
look, it reminded me of my little early 20s. Shout out to Bam Bam Gigolo out of Chicago.
Shout out, baby.
It reminded me, yeah, I enjoyed, I think a lot of us did, the introduction of pleasure, and I get
Mhm.
it. The husband wasn't working on nothing. She had to do what she had to do.
I
Look,
totally agree. I
Teresa said,
totally agree.
girl, pleasure had me staring at that phone, child.
It's almost hit click down.
Oh, yeah, I almost called BE. He would have been like, what the hell? Because this definitely not what we've been talking about.
What did you think about the steamy escapades in the group? Like, because each couple went into
Yeah.
deep diving into their actual escapades and how it was, and I was like, girl, that was quite steamy. And I have hot flashes normally on a daily basis, but
Girl,
baby,
were you
they were to the
flash?
tenth.
Did it trigger a hot flash?
Baby, let me tell you.
I
I was
was,
like, oh Lord. And I
look,
think okay, of course, pleasure. He and Jamie, they were top tier for me because he
mhm,
just did what needed to be done. But then I was like, I like Kingston and Aria.
mhm,
Kingston and Aria's like kind of took you there too because they played no games.
mhm,
They
mhm.
played no games. I think Renee, I don't even did we even get into any of well, I think Renee told a little bit about like their experiences, she
Yeah.
and Jackson's, but hers wasn't as interesting now. Aria and Kingston's was interesting, but Pleasure, baby. Pleasure is on a planet of his own. Shout out Pleasure if you
Shout out to
listen.
Pleasure. And I enjoyed it, especially me reading Zane in the past and all of that. I enjoyed all of the scenes and all of that. But when I mentioned disjointed, I even felt that when it came to that, because, it takes you from them being, oh my God, it's my husband and all of that, to immediately reminiscing so yeah, I enjoyed it though. I think we all did, but it still felt a little disjointed as far as how the story was supposed to go from that shop.
I totally agree. I totally agree. Um, and then I also this just reading more about Jamie's story. It was easier for me to identify, like you said, why she ended up at the strip club, why she ended up with pleasure. She wasn't getting pleasured
Yes.
at home, and he knew that. But I felt bad. Like, did you feel bad for her, like knowing like he was basically demeaning her and calling her out of her name. And I get that,
Yes.
of course, cheating is never acceptable coming from the wife or the husband in a marriage.
Mm,
However, you're not about to sit and demean me. And
period.
she said she had been going through that for like 6 months to a year
And
after he found out. Nigga, you done lost your mind. We not
period.
we're not about to do that. But this is again, I just hated that she accepted that and she stayed with him and allowed him to belittle her like that because she made that one choice. But again, I feel like that was her open door opportunity to tell him what she was lacking in her marriage
I
and
agree.
what drove her there. Like,
Yes.
I don't care. I'm not sparing your feelings. This is why I went there because you're
Yep.
not pleasing me. You're not pleasuring me.
Right.
And this is why I went there. So give him like put the onus back in his lap. Like, you come in here,
Mhm.
you act like I'm not your wife. You running across the street every time Jessa calls your name, and then you have this wife that you want me to just put on this facade and smile when your parents come and smile when my parents come and sit and fake the funk when we got these dinner parties and all of this kind of stuff. But the fact that you think that you're gonna talking about meet me in the room in 20 minutes and
Right.
strip and do this and bend over and take this and do this. And I'm sitting there like, and at that point, I was like, okay, so you one of them little pervert
Mhm.
Negro. And
Mhm.
what made me, I never could get out of my mind is every time she started to explain him and she said he had that little schoolboy look, when she said he was short, I said, that Negro got that short man complex. That's why he's
Exactly.
doing
Exactly.
I say that's why he doing that, and he mad because he got a little penis. That's exactly
Yep.
why he's doing that
Yeah.
because he felt the way.
Overcompensate.
Yes. So I
Mhm.
felt like, but it's deeper. It's some deeper stuff coming up with him in the other books. But I hated the fact that she allowed him to do that to her for so long. I'm sitting there like, girl, pick yourself up. Yes, you chose to have this little one night stand with pleasure, but it's not the end of the world. Like, we
Exactly.
either gonna talk this thing out, you gonna forgive me, we gonna move past it, go to therapy, whatever we need to do. But I'll be damned if I sit up in this house and you got me constrained and having me do this and you demeaning me and calling
Right.
me out of my name and all of that kind of stuff. Absolutely not. And got the nerves to have a mistress? No,
Right.
ma'am.
Yep. I
No,
agree.
ma'am. The
I agree.
elegant elephant
Look,
said the
one thing
Napoleon complex. Yes, son. This
But look, one thing a Negro gonna have, some of them, is the audacity. You know what I mean? So
yes.
with all of that, he had the audacity. And yeah, I was shocked that she just allowed all of that.
I
I was.
was too, right? The elegant elephant said her self use had been chopped down. Totally, totally, for sure. Gia says, yes, Zane Sex Chronicles. Girl, I used to read them Sex
Hey,
Chronicles. You hear me? Baby, I used to sneak and read my mama's books back in the day. Right. Teresa said, I can't even see him being romantic to Jamie. I don't either. I don't think yes, Elegant Elephant. That book is juicy, baby. We're reading the whole series. It's a 6 book series. So go download it and you will definitely enjoy it. But yeah, I just really hated the fact that, she cared so less of herself and more about trying to please other people and cared about what her mom thought about her, to the point to where she would stay and just take this for so long. I think that it was very degrading. And I was glad toward the end when she finally had just said, I don't care anymore. I'm not doing this. And I'm glad she finally stood up to him and, took her little $8,000 because she only had $8,000 in the secret account that she had. I was like, well, girl, that ain't going to get you far. But
that was a shocker too. Like, girl, that's
yeah,
all you had.
and I was sitting there like, that's it.
Right? These accomplished women. Yeah, that was a shocker. That's it.
Especially if she had talked about like how bougie she was and
Right.
how the girls was like, we ain't never seen her real hair because her hair stays so laid all the time. She got to wear the best of the best and she's very prestigious and all of this
Exactly.
kind of stuff. But it also takes us back into real life, how people always want to say relationship goals or I want to be like her. You
Yep.
don't never know what these people got going on behind closed doors. So ain't nobody's relationship hashtag goals because people go through stuff, but they'll put on these facades and they come out in public and you will see looking like they happy go lucky, they are amazing, like they got great
Mhm.
chemistry, and he hugging all on her and kissing her in front of people, but behind closed doors, go get the whip, bend over, do this, you bitch, you whore, you this and that, like very demeaning to her. So you just really, this book did open, my view of what I already knew. Like, people show you what they want you to see. People aren't always telling you the truth about who they really are, and what is on the outside really is not what it looks like on the inside, because people can put on a facade. So you
But
have to really,
isn't that the case though with most people in general?
yeah.
I don't expect, for instance, I'll use myself for an example. I would have never got out, let's say, on social media and told the details. Oh my good, me and this and had an argument last night. So I do think that a lot of us will show a lot of the happy times, not only social media, but to our friends and our family, because you shouldn't share everything, because 9 times out of 10 you're going to end up looking like a fool if you stay with them anyway. That could be for the woman or the man. So I understand that part, that a lot of people will only give the happy moments in a relationship. Friendships, close friends, that's different. You absolutely should have someone that you can talk to when you're going through things and all of that. But I've always been one that understood that part of it, because, yeah, I just don't think it's realistic to believe that everybody is going to come out here and put everything out on Front Street. But I
Mhm.
agree with you. I've never brought into the whole relationship goals or marriage goals. We look at Sierra and Future, for instance. Seems like the most amazing couple, and oh my goodness, but we'll never know what goes on behind closed doors.
Mhm.
But anyway,
And people show us only what they
for
want
sure.
us to see, and then just as the viewers or the onlookers, we should definitely always keep that in the back of our mind. Like, just because you see this person popping up on social media every day don't mean they got it all together. They're only showing you just a mere image that they want you to see, or telling you what they want you to believe. It's always a bigger picture, and it's always more to the story. But I've never been a social media person, like put my business, like you say, on social media anyway. So
Yeah.
you would be very confused looking at my stuff on social media.
Yes, they were shocked with me, like, wait a minute, that divorce? Dang. And I think I told you guys I posted while we were still in Puerto Vallarta. Yeah, we this over. We done. You know what I'm saying? And yeah, but again, I don't expect anybody, and I don't recommend it, especially social media. Don't put your look. If we saying don't tell a woman how your man is in bed, or if we saying don't tell your female friends all the details, that's a thing for a reason. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm. I agree. And Teresa says, but my face said what my mouth don't. If I'm mad at my husband, y'all know, y'all will know it when we get together. I don't have to say a word, even though it's just a spat. I totally agree. I'm that person as well. If we done had like a big blowout in the car or before we left the house,
Hmm.
baby, you gonna know something wrong when we pop up. I'm not faking the funk for nobody. My
Yeah.
face is gonna say it, and if you don't want people to know, leave me at home, because
Hmm.
I'm not about to put on no fake smile and do all of that kind of stuff. But there are a lot of people who really care about what other people think about them, and they live their lives for their relationships to seem perfect, even though they are enduring, some of the worst times of their lives behind those closed doors. And this book also was a revelation that you just really never know what people are going through and what people are putting up with behind closed doors. Like, just listening at some of these stories and all of these different scenarios about what they were dealing with, what they were going through, and just what they were allowing. Again, although we cannot accommodate what the men are allowing to take place with them, whoever the person was, and we know it ended up being Eric that was sleeping with the mistress, men as well, she had to have felt comfortable enough with them to even get close enough to them to do anything. And
Hmm.
they allowed it, because as the man and my husband, You were supposed to nip that shit in the bud. It was a never supposed to. I was never supposed to walk up and ever catch you with one of my friends that close to you or what have you. So we have to remember to always put the onus in the lap that it's the beholder, which is whoever it who has the loyalty to me, which is my husband. Although that's my friend, but we can't keep taking the onus out of the lap of these men because they're the ones that allowed it and they're the ones who owe us the loyalty. But then in the hindsight, us as women, we got to stop putting up with so much shit. We just like, for the love and for the sake of just, I love him and I got a man, we just stay longer. We put up with stuff, especially looking at Jamie's situation. She endured a lot within that time frame. And just, can you imagine going through that every single day?
Ma'am.
Girl, every single day. And then we know we read when she finally was able to let it go the night he returned home from the fishing trip. She explained to her mom, she was able. How did you feel about her mom's response when she told her mom what happened?
I don't like the mama. You know what I mean? Look, lady, you live your life. Let me live mine. She's too judgmental for me. Yeah, I didn't like it. What are your thoughts on it?
I didn't like her either. I didn't like her. I think I stopped liking her mom early on when I just when she told us in details of how perfect she had to be for her mom, and
Right?
how like her mom just really only cared about appearances, and you got to be the best this and speak this way and don't take this and don't do that. And I just feel like, as parents, they need to do better. And I get you want, your kids to be a certain kind of way. But again, a lot of these parents has tried to live vicariously through their kids. But a lot of this stuff is trauma because of shit they did when they were growing up or experienced in their lives. So now you want to push this mirror of perfection onto your kids to make up what you lacked, in your own life. And I didn't like that about
Yeah.
her mom. I didn't like, because to me, and I felt like as we learned more about her mom, I felt like she put up with the stuff that she was putting up with Eric because of her mom, because this is what her mom instilled in her when she shared with her mom that, I cheated and, I'm miserable, I'm going to file for divorce. And her mom was like, no, you shake that shit off and you fix this, and you don't leave, you don't walk away. What are the people gonna say? This is why so many people are still miserable today, because of women like that try to force women to stay in situations that no longer serve them, that it's like a dead situation. They should have been gone. Ain't no fixing this. How do you come back from a situation? There's no coming back from what Eric was doing to this girl. There's no way I would even want to fix this. Can't no
Right.
therapy fix it. Can't none of that fix it. So I just was disheartened for her mom to just want her to stay.
Yeah, and look, not only that, this is why people are miserable. We can take it deeper and really keep it real. It's a lot of reasons why people end up unaliving themselves and everything else. Gee, I was just about to say that. Yeah, no, you're not about to live vicariously through me. You had your life. This is my life. You put up with whatever you wanted to put up with to uphold this image and fantasy. This is real shit that I'm going through. I'm not dealing with it. I had enough, and I don't even know if you need respect, but I had enough respect to bring it to you as far as what I'm going through. But yeah, it is my life and my decision. So it's a real situation that happens often. And yeah, I am all about self. Do whatever makes you happy. Mama will get over it, or if this is the end of our mother daughter relationship, so be it. But I'm not putting up with anything for anybody, period. Mamas, friends, aunties, grandma, nobody, you know?
I totally agree. Wholeheartedly agree with everything you just said. And Gia said, just as Chit Chat stated, the author failed us with not giving back stories. I
Yes.
wondered what was really going on with the parents. That is going to come. The one thing I do know is that we are going to find out about her parents in the next, either next book or the one after, but we will find out why her mother is like she is. And you are going to be stunned, but
Mhm.
we're definitely going to find that out. What are my next questions? So we know when they all, because we've done a lot of talking. So we know when they
I
all.
gotta mute. I gotta mute. Let me take this
Okay.
call.
Okay. So we know in yes, Teresa is coming up next. So we know in all of the husbands ended up coming back. What have we been with 2 hours and 55 minutes? Yeah, we're gonna hold it, get off shortly because I feel like we've covered everything. But as we know, the text message went out. The ladies spent like a whole day waiting for these men to come back and to see which husband was actually going to show up. Because if we noticed in the text message, Jessa said that the man would not be coming home, that he would be coming home to her. We know that Jessa ended up, girl, moving out of the neighborhood, buying a whole new house that she hadn't told her friends. None of the ladies knew that she had actually moved out of the neighborhood. She went to another neighborhood that was about 30 minutes away, and she really was expecting that her guy, which we know we found out in the end of the book that it was actually Eric that she was having the affair with. She shared her reasonings behind why they were, how they ended up together, and all of that kind of stuff. But Eric did not show up to her when she thought he would have showed up. How did you ladies feel when she started to tell her story of how she woke up the next morning because she fell asleep because it took him longer than she thought it was going to take him to come from the fishing trip, so she fell asleep. But when she woke up, she realized Eric was not there. Am I the only one that really just chuckled on the inside because he didn't show up, and she felt like she felt like that she really knew um that he was going to show up? Let me go back to the part to where she said, so Jessa basically said, I hardly slept last night as I lay in my bed alone watching the sun rising in the sky. I guess the final laugh was on me. My lover, the man I came up so excuse me, the man I gave up so much for, never showed up last night. He never even called me. And when I called him, his cell phone was turned off. Did it hurt to be rejected, lied to, and mistreated? Because I'm sitting there as I'm reading this, I'm like, girl, how you feeling any kind of way? Because after what you did to your friends. She said, I sighed as I turned over in bed, able to roll wherever I chose without interruption. I swore that last night, for the first time, I would have him in my bed, our bed, for the first night of many nights. I guess the last laugh is on me. For all the tough talk, for all the bravado of being a mistress, who couldn't care less? I'm not heartless. These women were my friends. We shared many moments together. We made many memories. I knew what my lover and I did was wrong as two left shoes, but how could I make them understand? After my husband's death, the loneliness and the grief caused an ache in me that no one could understand. Nothing soothing could touch it. I felt like a huge part of me died on the inside. Life as I knew it was over. And every day, something in me, the old me, faded away. The smiles that had come to my face in the past were real, but soon as I was just protecting the Jezebel that they wanted to see. After that night, I became consumed with him, and he became the light in my life of darkness and gloom. He said and did all the right things. He made me believe we were destined to be together, regardless of what or who. He convinced me that he was willing to walk away from it all and be with me. I gambled on his love and I lost. Did I regret sending the message? Did I regret taunting my friends who were now who were most definitely my foes now? I didn't know. It was spiteful and childish, and the fate had a way of making a person regret the things that they had done. Maybe my little message was the reason I was lying in this cold bed in my $400 La Perla alone. I looked around the room at the candles melted down to the wick and scattered the flower petals already drying out at a crisp. Remnants of the night were gone. But it was more than just a night of disappointment. I had plenty of those in the last year. This might just be the end of our affair. I had some decisions to make if it was. So she climbed out of the bed. She picked up her phone. She said he claimed he couldn't get enough of this body, but he wasn't here. So her phone started ringing. She looked over at the Blackberry and she knew it was him. So when she picked it up, she said, even as my heart pounded, I played it off ever so cool and turned to lean back against the dresser. She said, did you have a good night? Because I didn't. She said that in a hating way. She said, I wanted him and craved for him to rush here into my arms and to tell me that he was here to stay for good. Why did you send that text message? He said. Why did you lie about being with me? She countered. That was a silly, a childish stunt that you pulled sending that text, Jessa. And so she wanted him to come over. He didn't come. She said the line went dead. She told him that her feelings was not meant to be played for as well. And she said that an apology or a damn letdown was something else because he didn't give it to her. He told her that he loved her. And she said that that text of yours put him in a bind. And she said that he told her that it could cost him big time and that she shouldn't have sent it. So basically, Eric was upset at the fact that she sent the text message. But Eric also said that the reason why I went to the house after the fishing trip, his plans were to go tell Jaime face to face that he was going to leave. Jessa didn't want him to leave. He felt like Jessa didn't want him to go home to Jaime. So she felt like he should have came to her. So she asked him, so what are you saying? And he sighed heavily in the phone and said, I think we should take a little break from each other. Your little stunt really didn't give me much of a choice. So she was like, so is it over? So you are telling me that you're breaking up with me? And he said, yes, Jessa, I'm sorry. So everything you told me this last year has been a lie. You have used me up and now you want to throw me away. And she said that he was like, because of what you did, you put us in a strain. So I have to wait for a minute. She said, you are a liar because you weren't even supposed to go back over there. You were supposed to come straight to me, but you didn't. And you had no intentions of leaving her, I said. And this is the thing. And this is why I don't know about you all. I do not feel sorry about her. I don't feel sorry about what she is experiencing because, okay, first of all, lady, you are mistress. We don't do mistresses, especially those who insert themselves into the marriage. You know what I'm saying? If he was going to leave his wife, you should have given him the opportunity to leave his wife in his own terms, although he should have never been, sleeping outside of his marriage. But, given their situation, we knew that he was doing it as a get back to Jaime. Although I don't think it was a get back. I think he was messing with Jaime before her little escapade um, with pleasure. I really think he and Jessa was connecting emotionally before that. So I don't feel sorry for what they're going through. I don't feel sorry for. And then my thing is the audacity of him. Like you were sitting here dogging out your ex-wife. I mean, dogging out your wife for this mistress chick, and you were giving all of your time and attention to the mistress. How dare you not want to go on over there where she at and go build a life? Like, don't wait until now Jaime has said enough is enough. Are you meaning to tell me that you were actually coming home to tell Jaime that you were leaving? And then what was she supposed to do when you told her that you was going to go and, you were leaving her and you were going to where Jessa was? I don't think his intent ever was to leave Jaime. I think that he was playing both sides. He was playing with Jessa's emotions, which I don't feel sorry for her because that's exactly what she get. If you wanted to be with that man, although it was not right because that was your friend, you should have never sent that text message. You should have allowed that man to go through his situation and go through a divorce. And then if y'all wanted to end up together, that was your business, but I still would not have. It still would have been wrong because that was your friend. So we can't negate the fact, but you still should have allowed him to do it the right way and never to insert yourself. Basically, like she was forcing his hand to tell his wife that they weren't going to be together. And the fact that you involved all friends when you knew you were only sleeping with one, I think that was very selfish of her. I think that she deserves everything she got coming, but she ain't done yet, y'all. She's not done because now she find herself stuck with a mortgage on top of the house that she already has because they hadn't sold for her yet. She was supposed to sell her house, get the money from that house to buy this new house that they had bought together or said that they were going to buy together to live there happily ever after. And the thing was, once she got off the phone with him and he told her he wasn't leaving, I think that was the moment of her snapping. And this was the moment of truth for her, because she saw that after you did all of that, that man still went home to his wife. He had no intentions of leaving. But I think she's going to she's going to be held for, everybody else going forward. Because how do you come back from that? These were my friends. I violated my relationships with these ladies, and I also slept with one of my friends' husbands, and now he chose to not come. Typical mistress behavior. To those who know of anybody that's been a mistress or a mistress, if you've been and you listening in, this is what happens. He never intends to leave the wife. He tells you all of the good things. He say he's going to do this, that, and the third. His intention is never to leave his wife. And the fact that Jaime decided to leave him first, I think we're going to see, without spoiling what's coming, I think we're going to see two instances where both Jaime and no, both Eric and Jessa are going to have moments of snapping with this situation. But again, they both caused their situations, and this is what happens when you dancing with the devil, if I can say that. But overall, as we know, at the end of the book, once Eric did not show up for the whole little escapade at Jessa's new home, the new life that they were supposed to have together, she realized that she basically had egg on her face and it didn't go the way that she thought. So she probably feels like that Eric is still home with Jaime and that he's trying to make his relationship work. So again, typical mistress behavior. She's going to try to come in between everything that he has going, and he's not going to leave her, but she does not know that Jaime has actually left him. So that's how we ended the book. The book ended up with her actually going back over to Richmond Hills. You remember, she goes back over and she gets to the security gate, and Lucky, the security guard, asked her what was she doing there, because he thought that she had moved. And she said, well, I guess I'm back. So stay tuned for what Jessa is showing back up at Richmond Hills to do. She went back over to the old neighborhood where the old friends were, where her lover Eric is, and she's coming through those gates to cause some more chaos. So that's exactly what she's doing. Let me read some comments before I'm going to pull up our book two that's going to be for our next. Yes, sis says she fell for the okie doke. She definitely did, and she thinks she's going to snap going forward. Listen, don't most of those mistresses do when they think that they were getting ready to get the prize, as they think? Teresa says, I think the ladies in the movie plays the right roles that definitely fit the characters in the book. Yes, sis, dummy ass. Gia says he treated her like the textbook side piece that she was. Exactly. Right, sis? I don't feel sorry for him either. What happens, happens. Exactly. Yes, Teresa, she can have Eric gone on over there and treat Jessa the same way. And he's not. Their intent is never to leave the wives. Keyword never. Hey, Sharon, thanks for joining, sis. The Elegant Elephant says, in my Needy Leaks voice, you should have closed your legs to marry men, child. Exactly. She definitely should. Teresa said, as they always do. They always go home to the wife, right? Because they don't want you to leave them first. He never intended to leave. He got pleasured out of mistreating Jaime and demeaning her. Like, there's a sixth side to Eric that we're going to see in these upcoming books. He was pleasured by doing her that way. Sharon says she should have known better. Who sung that song? I was just about to say it. She should have known better. That was Monica. Right, sis? She should have known better. Sis said, and they tell and make up bad things about their wives. Absolutely. They don't ever tell you anything good. They tell you exactly what they want you to hear in order to suck you in. And eventually you start to see the real side. You made your bed, not lie in it. Girl, she was lying in that big old $400 La Perla comforter she was sleeping under. So Jessica gonna be a coleslaw girl. Jill says she's going to want her get back because of the humiliation, but she don't deserve any get back. You know who she gonna get it back on? Eric, because that's the only one that she was in relationship with. Like, you sent this text message to your friends. The only person you should want to get back on is the man who was selling you all of these different lies, and you fell for it, and you risked your relationships for it. So that's her point. That's her problem. Sis says, amazing discussion. I really enjoyed this. For those of you that did not read book one, you still have time to read that one book and book two before the next meeting next month. Absolutely. We have, oh, there was a La Perla lingerie, sis, $400. Girl, bye. But yes, if you did not get the opportunity to read book one, you have time to read. You definitely have time to read book two. Let me pull up book two. Let me read our synopsis for book two, ladies. The next book, part two to this series, is Mistress No More. Mistress No More, which is the next series to the next book in the series. It says, Jezebel shocked the hell out of her three best friends when she announced she was having an affair with one of their husbands, then refused to say which one. She's been reveling in watching them self destruct, but now caught between an ex-lover who won't let her go and a new lover who's more than happy too. Jess is ready to confront the ladies, reveal the truth, and move on. Maybe her stunt will even send her latest married man back into her arms for good. But she'll soon find out revenge isn't just sweet, it can be deadly. Because nothing will ever be the same once Jezebel decides she's a mistress no more. Mistress no more. So now, it seems like Jessa is going to accept the fact that she's no longer going to be Eric's mistress. She pulling somebody else into her old web of lies and self-destruction, and somebody else is coming into the picture. But she's going to be caught in between her ex-lover, which is Eric. Eric apparently is not going to let her go in book two, and she's going to be going on into trying to move into a new relationship. So now we're about to see Eric go through whatever he's getting ready to go through. Typical Negro when they've been caught in the midst of some mess. So again, so definitely go download it. To those of you who do not read hard copies, read the Audible books. If you feel like you're too busy to sit still and just read the hard copy, Audible is your best friend because it can read to you while you're actually up moving around. So it's going to be a great series. So we're going into book two, the third weekend of November. Let me see what that date is. Actually, what is the third weekend of November? Our book club meetings are always on the third weekend, ladies. Always on the third weekends. The third weekend in November is November 15th. November 15th is the third Saturday in November. The third Saturday in November, November 15th. That will be our next book club meeting. We'll be reading and discussing book two, which is Mistress No More. Please read the book. Those of you that didn't get a chance to finish book one, finish book one so that you can so that you will know and be able to understand how it's flowing into book two, so that next month that somebody else click the link and come up and co-host with me as we discuss the book. Thank you so much to my sisters for coming up and being on the panel with me. The panel is open to anybody, anytime we're having our book club discussions. Feel free to come up. That's what it's about. It's more than just you hearing me talking to discuss the book. It's for all of us. That's why it's important to read the book so everybody can follow on in the discussions. So make sure that you read it. Mistress No More. Betty said, so I can just go on to book two. Yes, when you finish reading book one, go right on into book two. We are finishing this entire 6-book series. So we're going into book two for next month, which is Mistress No More. The author is Niobia Bryant. And you can find it on Amazon, and you can find her on Audible. So yes, absolutely. Sis said Jezebel can kick rocks with no socks on. Girl, she stay having people kicking rocks with no socks. But I agree, sis. Elegant Elephant says, I'm so glad that I saw the notification to join this book club. I'm so glad you did too, sis. I am so glad. Thank you. Thank you for being here. Sis said Audible has a special through Amazon for 99 cents a month for 3 months. So yes, y'all go take advantage of that. And you also know that when you do these special subscriptions for like Audible and stuff like that for these 99 cent subscriptions, put a reminder in your phone to cancel it on week 3 on month 3, and then after you cancel it you can go right back in and do another trial and get it for 99 cents. So definitely go get your 99 cent special for Audible on Amazon. Yes, Teresa, November 15th. That's the third Saturday in November. November 15th. Thanks, sis. Sis said, amazing live, sis. You divas enjoy the rest of your Saturday. Thanks, sis. Yes, click the link. Hit the like button. Also, subscribe and share the live with your friends. If you got girlfriends and friends that love to read, invite them over here to the Pink Table Book Club. Share with them our book club information and bring them on over here. We discussing good books. As I told y'all before, we do not discuss documentaries and self-help books. We'll do that another time on our personal time, but book club is for us to read these kind of books, our good urban novels and our good juicy stuff. We're not going to be reading any documentaries or any self-help books. Okay. Look at Gia. I might get break. Girl, you better click this link and stop playing. If you don't stop playing, this is what book club is about, is for all of us to share and to be able to come on the panel and just engage in the conversation. Y'all come out of that chat. We be in the chat all the time. Come out of the chat and click the link so we can have a real good discussion. Miss Lady said if you like Audible books and you have Spotify Premium, you can download the books for free. Okay, so see, there's another option. If you like the Audible books and you have Spotify Premium, you can download the books for free. Right, sis. Stop playing, Gia. Sis says she got her reminder on. Yes, y'all go ahead and put the next book club meeting date in your book. I'm going to try in your calendar. I'm going to make sure I try to keep it around this time, early afternoon, like the 1 o'clock p.m. Time frame. So it's kind of easy, and you still got the rest of your evening. Miss Lady says, "Thank you, Pink Diva. This was a really good time. Thank you, sis. I appreciate you for being here." Thank you. And thank you to everybody that came. This was an amazing time we had here at the Pink Table Book Club. Thank you for bringing your voices, your laughter, your hearts into this space. This isn't just about us reading. It's about us having fun and growing through every page we turn. Every discussion reminds us that we're not just reading books, we're building bonds, we're growing together, and we are truly reading between the lines. So until next time, next month, Saturday, November 15th, right here at the same table with the same love, a new book. Cheers to sisterhood and stories. And remember, at the Pink Table Book Club, it's more than just about books. It's about our sisterhood. It's about our community. Every page we turn sparks new conversations, new connections, and just new love. We're laughing, we're having fun, and that's what it's all about right here at the Pink Table. So thank you, ladies. I hope you enjoyed the rest of your Saturday evenings. Have fun, enjoy, and we will see you right back here for another Pink Table Book Club meeting Saturday, November 15th. I will be getting the schedule so that you'll have the time. Go ahead and download your book, Book 2, Mistress No More by Niobe Bryant. Chat with you soon and have a great day. Love y'all. Have a good day.